Okay. Hi, everyone. Good to see familiar pictures. uh, the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, as many of you know, is the nonprofit organization that owns Jazz Fest. And the foundation's role is to invest proceeds from Jazz Fest and to put those dollars right back into Louisiana communities for year-round programming in the areas of education, economic development, and cultural enrichment. Through our economic development initiatives, we have several programs, but our largest is our grants program. Our community partnership grants, we usually receive anywhere between 350 and 400 applications, where we fund around 95% of those applications. My name is Kia Robinson Hatfield. I'm the Director of Programs, Marketing, and Communications. And joining me on a call is my colleague Bailey Badaway, who is our Marketing Coordinator. I'm gonna start off by saying we do not make grant determinations or decide who gets what in allocations. We are simply here to facilitate and to offer guidance to the review panelists as they are reviewing all the grants, to add information if there's something not clear in the applications. We do study all of these grant applications as they come in. If we need more questions or clarity from you, we'll reach out to you. So that is our role. We are here to advocate for you in the grant review process. So we're going to take you through how we do all of that. So again, thank you for being here for our presentation today. I'm going to guide you through the grant's website, guidelines, requirements, and even the applications. So this should take about 20 to 25 minutes, and then we'll open the floor to any questions that you'll have. Bailey is monitoring the chat, so I just ask that you hold your questions until I'm done going through everything. Something that I say may inspire you to ask another question. So we'll get to all of your questions, I promise. And then also, whoops, uh, we're also going to get to those questions that many of you sent beforehand via email or through the form. So let's get to it. The foundation provides grants to schools, artists, and Louisiana nonprofit organizations throughout the state. This is a micro grant providing funding of up to $5,000 to support music and arts education programs, cultural events put on by Louisiana nonprofits, and artistic works that interpret Louisiana culture, and also other projects that fit within the foundation's mission.
And our mission is to promote, preserve, perpetuate, and encourage the music, culture, and heritage of communities in Louisiana through festivals, programs, and other cultural, educational, civic, and economic activities.
Yes, thank you, Bailey. So that means the foundation board really wants to give money to individuals and organizations that are have the same alignment as their mission. So they're very interested in arts education in schools, cultural projects led by organizations and individuals. Okay, so keep that in mind when you are applying. This may be the grant for you and it may not be, but grants with a high, following just what Bailey read, the mission statement are going to be scored higher than a grant that may not necessarily fall within those guidelines. So I'm going to read off a bit of our criteria for you. Community partnership grants are available for the following groups: 501c3 nonprofits, registered Louisiana nonprofit organizations, individuals. There are two categories that individuals are qualified to, eligible to apply in: institutions of higher learning, of higher education, so universities, colleges, K-12 public, private, or parochial schools, and then federally recognized tribal communities or tribes. The deadline to submit your application is Friday, August 5th at 11 p.m. Central Time. An activity occurring during this grant period must fall between September 1, 2022, so just in a couple of months, through August 31st, 2023. So that means this grant does not fund activities that have occurred prior to that window or after. One other tidbit is that the foundation should not be the only funding source for your grant. This program should be able to exist with or without foundation funds. Because of the number of grant applicants, most awardees will not receive their entire request. On average, grant recipients receive about 3 to 3,500. I want to reiterate that your project should be able to happen without foundation funds, and it's for that reason. Applicants may submit no more than one application at a time and is in only one of our 4 grant categories per grant cycle. So I'll break that down for you a little bit. So I, as an individual, can submit an application. Me, Jane Doe, can apply in one of the 2 individual categories, and I will be awarded, if I'm awarded, I will be awarded as Jane Doe. Jane Doe has a grant. ABC nonprofit can apply in their category. Say it's an after-school program, they can apply for grants. If I, Jane Doe, want to apply as an individual, but I also have a nonprofit that has its own separate EIN and all that kind of stuff, I can submit an application for my nonprofit. So I hope that makes sense. If anyone wants clarification on that, I'm happy to go over that again at the end of this presentation. Our applications are online only, and we're going to show you the grant portal in just a minute. But for right now, we're going to start at communitypartnershipgrants.org. And I'm going to share my screen in just a second. You would think 2 years of Zoom, I would have this down pat, but nope. Okay, let's see. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Thumbs up. Bailey, can you see? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, this is communitypartnershipgrants.org. On this website, this is where all of the information will be for grants. And everything that I just went over exists on this website here. Our mission, our vision, our belief, the criteria that I just went over, any updates will be provided here on this website, and we'll also email you. We went through all of this already. So we have 5 grant categories open right now, and Bailey is going to take us through each one of those.
Sure thing. So the first category we have here is the Jazz and Heritage in School Education Program for music, arts, and cultural traditions. The criteria for this is this category supports music and arts education in schools by funding music and art instruction that takes place at Louisiana K-12 schools during the regular school day or after school. Schools can be public or private and may apply for money to pay for instruments, instrument repair, sheet music, visual art supplies, or other needed materials to support arts instruction as part of the school's curriculum. Only 1 application per school is allowed, so teachers need to check with their principals and colleagues before submitting an application to make sure no one else in the school is submitting one.
Yes, and then I'll add to this that, again, this is only open for K-12 schools. This is not open to nonprofit organizations. This is not open to anyone applying for a grant to do projects in schools. The applications in this category have to come from the schools themselves. This category, as with all categories, requires a match, and the match is a 1-to-1 match. Meaning, if you are requesting if you're requesting $5,000, then you need to have $10,000 in your budget. But because we know that the arts departments in schools are severely underfunded, we do allow for teachers to use their salaries as the matching funds. So if there's not a huge budget in your arts for arts in your schools, you definitely can use your salary. Okay.
Cool.
Oh, and one more thing, I'm sorry. And so also the guidelines are here for each category as we go on. All right, sorry, Billy.
No problem. So the next category is the Jazz and Heritage after school and summer education programs in music, arts, and cultural traditions. This category supports after school and summer educational arts programs offered by nonprofit organizations. Organizations may apply for money only to pay the professional teaching fees of the artists or educators who provide arts instruction. Only nonprofit organizations in Louisiana may apply.
Yes, so again, this category is for nonprofits only. Sometimes we see schools in here, and very rare will that be accepted in this category, but for the most part, we move the schools into in-school category. But the after-school category is specifically for paying professional teaching fees. And the schools in the in-school category, that is for, you know, it may be a art department needing paint brushes and materials for art class, or the theater department needing new chairs. The band may need new symbols or something like that. Arts, not specific. After school category is very specific, teaching artist fees only. And again, this category has a match. It's a one-to-one match. So if you're requesting 5,000, you should have $10,000 or more elsewhere in your budget.
Yes. So up next, we have Jazz and Heritage presenting. And this is for festivals and concerts in music and the performing arts. This category supports employment for Louisiana performing artists by providing funding to Louisiana-based nonprofit arts organizations to help cover the cost of hiring Louisiana-based performers for festivals or other public cultural events in the state. Only nonprofits in Louisiana may apply. Organizations whose primary mission is not arts-based, such as social service agencies or municipal governments, may only apply if this is in partnership with an arts-based nonprofit.
Yes, again, this is only for nonprofits, Louisiana nonprofits, and it is to pay performing fees. So usually the kind of applications we see in this category come from nonprofits who produce festivals, Vineyard Fest, Satchmo, Pull Boy Fest, Alligator Fest, lots of concert series from orchestras, symphonies, we've dances companies who want to pay their dancers and so forth. Okay.
And up next, we have Jazz and Heritage Media and Documentation and Creation. This category supports the creation, documentation, or exhibition of artworks that reflect, interpret, document, or preserve the indigenous culture of Louisiana. Individuals and nonprofits may apply to this category, and priority will be given to Louisiana-based applicants.
Yep, this is one of the two categories that individuals and nonprofits can apply in. And this, it's very similar to our cultural equity arts category, but to support the creation and documentation. So any past grant recipients in this category have been folks who are writing books, doing exhibits of art sculptures, or doing archival projects, podcasts, films, documentaries. We've seen quilting projects, radio shows, but of course, all of the common theme is Louisiana. And so this category has a one-to-one match. As I explained for the other ones, this category is the only one that will allow folks from outside of Louisiana to apply. But those folks have to be doing a project that is related to Louisiana culture. And if awarded, the funds need to be spent in Louisiana or on Louisiana people. So basically hiring, so if you're writing a book and you need an illustrator, the illustrator needs to be, the book content subject matter needs to be about Louisiana, related to Louisiana something. And the illustrator will need to be from Louisiana. Okay.
Yep. Our final grant category is the Jazz and Heritage Louisiana Cultural Equity Arts Grant. This category supports new works from historically underrepresented creatives and art organizations that reflect or document Louisiana culture. It supports the creation, documentation, or exhibition of artworks that reflect, interpret, document, or preserve the indigenous culture of Louisiana. And individuals and nonprofits may apply.
Yes, so this category is similar to the media documentation category in that it supports creation of works, documentation, exhibition of artworks. But this category is, as said, specifically for historically underrepresented creatives and organizations, not to say that they have to apply in this category, but this category is there to give visibility and awareness around their work. This category also has a match, but it is different from the other categories. And again, going back to, um, you know, folks that fit within in this criteria being historically underrepresented in grant funding, the match uh, it's not a one-to-one match, it's a 50% match. So if you are requesting $5,000 from us, then you should have $5,000 somewhere in your budget. And that can come from in-kind donations as well. So say you're shooting a documentary and the filmmaker, I'm sorry, the videographer is going to give you his services, $3,000 of his services to you in kind, that $3,000 can be applied to your match. And so I can also go through, answer any specific questions about that after we go through the application. So those are the 5 categories. They all have the guidelines listed right underneath within their little blocks. And then you can also apply for each grant. This link goes to the same place. So we're going to get into the application. Our grant portal is with GoSmart this year. Bailey is going to put this link in the chat. That is our link to the grant portal. Whether you are a new grant applicant or you have applied with us before, you will need to create a new account, okay? This is a brand new grant portal. We're starting all over again. So sorry to make y'all go through that again, but when you click on create a new profile, it'll bring you to this window where you have to agree to the terms and conditions. Once you agree, it'll bring you right into your new profile that you need to create. The most very important question on this page is whether you are applying as an individual or an organization. Are you applying to be in one of the 2 categories that I mentioned, cultural equity arts or media and doc? Or are you applying with a nonprofit organization, so a school, nonprofit, government entity, or the like? So once you select this and save, you will not be able to change this, okay? So, sorry. Okay. So it's very important that you know how you are going to apply. Once you fill out all of your information that we're asking for, you can always come back to this page and change this information if the project director changes. But what you cannot change is whether the type of application that you are submitting. So once you have submitted your profile, it'll prompt you to log in. And I'm going to be logging in as Jane Doe today. I applied as an individual. Once you log in, it'll bring you to your dashboard. You see the home button, edit profile, where you can go back to that previous screen and change your contact information. And current programs and applications is where all of the applications live. So remember, I am Jane Doe. I'm applying as an individual. That means I am not eligible to apply for any of the organization categories. I cannot apply for after school. I cannot apply for in school, and I cannot apply for presenting, but I can apply for the Cultural Equity Arts Grant or the Media and Documentation Grant. So for the sake of this demonstration, I am submitting a grant in Media and Documentation. And you can see I've already started my application. Before I get into this, if you have any question about, at this point, what category you should apply in, you can take a peek by clicking preview at all of the questions. This is the information I've already filled out in my profile. And then here are all the questions in the application. Okay, that's the entire application. You can print this, and when you print, it'll bring you to this screen, so you can save and print from here. okay? And you can do that for all of the grants. You can take a peek into what those applications look like before you start them. All right, so we're applying in media documentation. I'm gonna open my application. All right, this is the media documentation application, and I will say that there's a lot of similarities between all of the applications. There's some questions in here that are a little different than the others, but for the most part, the big questions that we'll go over, those are asked in all of the categories. This is your navigation. You can go from, it's three pages that you'll need to fill out, and then there's the submit page. So this page, the first one, is your application. Then there's a budget page and demographic page, but we're gonna start here at application. And it's pretty basic. We ask, what is your project discipline? This is how we will delineate between, what kind of project you are. Certain people will be looking at documentation, certain folks will be looking at photography. So take care to really hone in on what your project discipline is. If you click other, please just, and you have to type in another discipline, please use one or two words. Please don't write a dissertation here. It needs to be just something short so that we can make a determination of who should be reviewing your grant. So I think I'm exhibition. Again, these little question marks here are little reminders from me. Maximum request is $5,000. You're going to be hearing my voice in your head. Maximum request is $5,000 and must be matched by an equal amount from revenue elsewhere in your budget. So my budget, I'm requesting $5,000. This is my budget. All throughout this application, you'll see this blue button that says save work. That is to remind you to save your work. If you fill all of this out and you don't click save and you go to another window, another screen, you will lose all of your work. So that's why they're kind of just randomly placed throughout the application. So I'm saving work. Can we put that person on mute, please, Bailey? A reminder that the grant period is September 1, 2022 through August 31st, 2023. One of the bigger questions is project summary. This needs to be short and to the point. Just to remind you, we receive hundreds of applications and the panelists are going through all of this. So something straight and to the point here is what's best. In the corner of this little window, you can expand this, but you only have 500 characters. And we did that on purpose because sometimes people write books here and we just never understand what the point of the grant is. So short, sweet to the point right here, okay? My project is the Cane River Quilting Exhibition. For this category and the Cultural Equity Arts category, we ask for a timeline. This is not requested in the other grant categories, but the timeline can be very basic, just like I have here. We've seen very basic timelines like this one, and we've seen some with a little bit more explanation to it if you need it. You have a little bit more character leeway in this question. Moving on to how you will spend the grant funds. Excuse me. Again, short and to the point. I'm using grant funds to pay a videographer and we're going to stream it online. The money will be spent on my equipment and the videographer's fee. Okay. And so a lot of these questions are pretty straight to the point. This one, what prior experience do you have that qualifies you to produce this program or project? This is one where you can really explain who you are and what qualifies you to take on your project. We ask a question about, have you received other grants for this project? It is not required that you have grants for this project, so please don't feel like you have to. But if you do, they do ask, who are you receiving grants from, and then how much? And so I've listed it out here. Your own money is also can be part of your match. So $1,000 of my own money is going to this project. Another big question is the biggest question is, how does your project support the mission of the foundation? And as I said earlier, read that mission again, which is right here conveniently for you, this little question mark. There's the mission for you, just as a reminder. How does this fit in with your project? I'll give you an example of something that happened in a past grant year. We received an application for, it was a person who wanted to do an exhibit on African American culture at a museum. And it was a very nicely written grant. It was very clear. Um, but the one thing that was missing was the connection to Louisiana. And as I said before, this board is very much so interested in preserving Louisiana culture, no matter what part of Louisiana you're from. But what is the connection to Louisiana? So even though this grant was, beautifully written, it was a beautiful project, there was no connection. Is African American culture is in Baltimore, it's in New York, it's in Florida, but what about specifically Louisiana are we trying to showcase? And turns out, this person wanted to showcase Louisiana music culture, which is, as you know, wide. So from Zydeco to hip hop, but that wasn't very well communicated in the grant and the explanation. So I, encourage you, if you need more guidance as far as that goes, reach out to us. We can help you, figure it out, as long as it's before the August 5th deadline. So again, just bringing it back to, how does the mission support? How is your project in line with the foundation's mission? And then the rest of the questions are, target audience, will you collect demographic information, and so forth. Those questions that I answered, these short answer ones, are probably the more, the ones that we get asked about a lot. So again, save your work. For nonprofit organizations applying in this category or any category, the last question on the page will be an instruction for you to upload your nonprofit letter. You do that right here. If we receive any applications without a nonprofit letter, I will be emailing you or calling you. When they get in front of the committee and they don't see it, they will possibly DQ it, disqualify it. So please remember this step. This is not a requirement for individuals. At the bottom of the page, there is a "Did I complete this page" button. So let's say I unclick that, save. A, a little "Did I complete this page" button. It'll let you know that you have at least one thing that's not complete, okay? And so in my case, I didn't complete that. So we are going to go to the next page, which is my budget. And budget is probably the wrong word here. How do you plan to use the grant funds? I'm requesting $5,000. So 3,000 is going to my videographer, 500, 500, 1,000. This column will add up everything for you. We just ask that you, put your labels here. This is what it looks like without the label and without an amount. Remember to save your work. And then go on to the next page, which is the last page. It's demographic information. We have explained here how we will use this data. This will not, no single person or organization will be singled out with this information. This will be more or less like a group information. 50% of our applicants identify as XYZ. So just wanted to point that out, but we're gonna ask you for your information once again. Your authorizing official, if you have one. If you don't have an authorizing official and you are that person, just put your information here again. And then here's where we ask for all of your links. If you're an individual and you are doing a project, please put as many links as you can. It doesn't matter if it's a YouTube, it doesn't matter if it's a Facebook or whatever. Provide links so that the panelists can get a vision, can get an idea of what your project is to be. So moving on with the demographics, this for organizations only does not apply to individuals, but it does apply to organizations. And then always remember to save your work, and you're done. So one thing I want to bring to your attention is that at any point in this application, you can view and save your application. So this is our application that we did with all of the questions and all of the answers, all the way down to demographics, budget, and you of course can print and save this as needed. Okay, so once you have completed your demographics, you're going to click next, or you can access it from here at the top navigation. It's time for you to submit. Oh, we forgot to answer a question. My bad. That was that question down here. So, but you see, it won't let you submit without answering all the questions. So now that we have that saved, or is it still saving? We will go to the submit page. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is going a little slow here, but once you go to the submit page and click submit, you will not be able to edit it after you hit that submit button, okay? That will be it. So make sure you have a deadline of August 5th. So many of you are already well on your way with your applications. I can see your progress from the back end. Once you hit submit, you won't be able to edit. So don't wait too long, but give your time to review all of your answers and make sure that everything is in tip-top shape. All right, let's see here. Now, we can open it up for questions if you like. Are there any questions? I can definitely tackle some of the, oh, go ahead, Mary.
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
I noticed that you don't notify applicants if they are going to receive the grant until the end of September, and they wouldn't get the funds until the end of October. Our event is planned for October 9th. So obviously the musicians want to get paid when they play. Is there any way we could be guaranteed? Is there any way we can know sooner so that we obviously can't book somebody September 2nd for the 9th?
Right. So I can't guarantee you, Mary, but usually that's a very rough timeline as well. We're gonna really book it so that we can get these done. Last year, Ida put us behind, and we've just been behind ever since. But we're gonna do our best to get everything scored and ready to go by the end of September. We definitely don't want to be in October, as we have a big festival in October that we're getting ready for. But I can't guarantee, but we should be done with scoring by the end of September, and there are we may be able to work that out with you if you're awarded.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and submit, and then should I put that in the notes or something? That
No, you'll
see from the date.
Yeah, we'll reach out separately.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, I see questions. Yep. Hi,
hey.
Who's that? Ryan.
Hey, how's it going? I hope everything's well. My question basically piggybacks off of the previous question that was just asked. Our event, we're putting together, well, I have a festival that I do, and we're going to apply so we can get some money to pay the musicians. But the festival is on September the 10th.
Okay.
And I saw that, I guess the period, I don't know if we had fit the guidelines for that period. So what would your recommendations be for that?
We likely won't be done with scoring until mid to the end of September. But we are taking it category by category. So, you could either go forward with your event and then I mean, I certainly don't want anybody being paid later. We do not support that.
Right.
But you know, that's the dates of this grant. So you could
Mhm.
either move forward and find money in your budget elsewhere and then just supplement monies that are awarded afterwards.
Right.
So that's what my recommendation would be.
Okay, thanks a lot. Got it.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, anybody else?
I have a question. I think you answered it already.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a member of a social aid and pleasure club. So we would like to apply for our second line. And so I could apply as an individual participant in the second line, correct?
Hi Lydia. So second lines, I know you emailed me ahead of time, I believe. We typically have not awarded second lines with this grant or parades for this grant unless it has some type of are you a nonprofit?
Yes.
Okay, unless it has some kind of educational component to it.
Okay.
But it's, you know, I'd like to talk more with you offline if that's okay.
Sure.
Over the phone, and then we can figure it out. But typically, second lines have not been. I don't think that I've ever seen a second line apply in this grant. So it may take a little research on my end, but we can figure it out together, and I'll give you a call so we can talk it through.
Okay, well, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
And I didn't know this until your presentation. I belong to another group that is a 501c7.
Oh.
And we put on a big fundraiser every year and hire entertainment. Would they be qualified for the Presents grant?
Not fundraisers, no.
Okay, thank you. That was
Yes,
my
ma'am.
question.
You're a busy lady, Lydia.
I am.
All righty.
We have a few questions in the chat.
Okay.
One from Kim Bergeron, question: if presenting an event that includes but is not limited to music, does the match have to be based on the music portion only or the overall event?
That's a good question, Kim. I would think that the match would need to be, you know, I don't think we spell that out in the guidelines, but your overall event, I think, is what we have typically done. That's certainly how we do for schools and after school. So I would think it'd be like that for presenting.
And then we have one more. Rasmussen says, are provider of service forms needed for performing artists that will be paid for with the grant?
No more service provider forms. Thank goodness.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Good, it's wonderful news.
Yes, it is wonderful for me too. We're hoping that this grant will be a little easier than the ones in the past, but also please let us know, because I'm always trying to make it easier for you guys and more straightforward. Other questions?
I had a quick question.
Yes.
For my project, I do have some funding from another grant that I received.
Okay.
Do we have to, is there any like proof of that funding that we have to give to you all, like an award letter or anything?
No.
Do we have to attach that?
No, ma'am. That one question that I showed you where it asks if you have any other funding from other places, it just asks you to list it out, but we do not require you to upload any award letters or anything like that either.
Okay, and one more question.
Yeah.
I just had a question. I'm part of a baby doll group. Can
Yes.
baby dolls apply for this grant as well for their costumes and things that they do?
It would have to fit within the guidelines. So exhibition, if it's going to be on exhibition, or some kind of documentation. Again, treating that like the social aid and pleasure club question, I can talk to you offline. But typically I want to say we had a baby doll project last year, but there was an exhibit attached to it. So it was baby doll dresses, and there was a person doing an oral history thing with it. So it was like an exhibition. So, but just to give supply, I'm sorry, to fund the creation of baby doll dresses, no, not that simple, but we can talk offline.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Christina.
We have one more in the chat
Mhm.
from Low Lawless. Do Mardi Gras Indians qualify as individuals, or does the whole tribe have to apply?
Again, similar to the other two cultural organizations, it depends on what you're doing. We have had Indians apply, but they are applying for specific things, not for a creation, to create a suit to, you know, to be at Super Sunday or anything like that, but a suit to go on display, or documentation of suits or a specific tribe. So again, I love to talk to you offline. Bailey's gonna put my direct contact information here in the chat. My email address is grants@jazzinheritage.org. And my phone number is 501c3. My phone number is 504-558-6103. So we can talk specifically about that. A few questions that came via email. One was, can matching grant funds come from other organizations, and what type of documentation is required for matching funds? Yes, your matching funds can come from other organizations, donations, your own funds, and we do not require documentation of these funds. Another question was, do you fund the creation of albums? And what should I know about applying for this? Yes, we have funded creating albums for musicians. And the best way to support your application is to make sure you include links, whether it be a website, YouTube, SoundCloud, or whatever social media platforms you use that showcases your music. And the best takeaway is, please don't ever assume that anybody, treat us like we are, and I'm saying us, but the panelists, as if you're talking to a group of fifth graders. They don't know anything about you. They don't know about your project. Explain it like it is your first time explaining this to someone. The simpler, the better. Let's see, are the funds taxable? Yes. This is a grant, which means the funds, the foundation reports all money that it awards to the IRS. So whether you apply as an individual or a nonprofit, you will receive a 1099 IRS form at the end of the year. Individuals will be responsible for paying taxes on this grant, and nonprofits will also be responsible on their end. So we encourage you to talk to a tax professional. On that same note, if you are an individual and you are applying for this grant, the grant will be in your name, meaning that when it's time to award you your money, you will not be allowed to submit a W-9 for a nonprofit, fiscal sponsor, or LLC. So Jane Doe receives a grant, Jane Doe the check will be written out to Jane Doe. And that's different than we have done it in past years, but trust me, there is always a reason for new things to happen. I believe that's all the questions I see one more here. What's the final date the funds can be used? So the funds should be used within a grant period. Final reports are due on August 31st, 2023. So as long as you get your check and cash it before the 180 days, it's up to you. It's totally up to you. Once we give you your check, it's yours. We don't ask for mid-year check-ins. We give you your check. We love to be invited to your events.
That's a good thing to mention. We have a new calendar on our website, which is accessible by events.jazzinheritage.org. And you can actually submit your events on our calendar, and we will list them this year for the first time ever in a community partnership grant like sub calendar. So we're hoping that this will give more visibility and free promotion to our community partnership grant funded events.
Mhm. Yep.
Ms. Hatfield, I have a question.
Yes.
This is Dr. Darby. Would you repeat what you said about the responsibilities regarding the IRS reporting the 1099 versus the W-9 for individuals and the corporation?
Only that the original question was, are these funds taxable? And so my reply was that the foundation reports all money that it awards to the IRS. So you will receive a 1099 at the end of the year. So nonprofits, any organization that is awarded or individual that is awarded will receive a 1099 at the end of the year.
And what about the individuals who are receiving the salaries from the grant?
They will be responsible for the taxes on those grants.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Dr. Darby.
So I had a question as well.
Yes.
So our organization is in charge of revitalizing a downtown district, and we have revitalizing the downtown district and also bringing culture back to the community. So we regularly present arts events and live music concerts in the district. We're not a quote unquote arts organization. We do have a focus on that, and it is part of our mission. But do we need to partner with, another nonprofit that is their sole purpose? I was a little bit confused on that.
Yes, so that rule has changed a little bit over the years. Initially, we were requiring it, but for this purpose, you do not need to, you just have to be a nonprofit, Louisiana nonprofit. So I believe it was municipals, government municipals that need to have an arts nonprofit to apply with. Like someone who doesn't normally put on events would need to partner with an arts nonprofit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I will say that this, like I said in the beginning, we receive anywhere from 350 to 400 grants. The most competitive, I can actually pull up some stats for you really quickly. Last year in the in-school category, 100% of the grants were funded. In the after-school category, 99% of the grants were funded. And presenting, 99% of the grants were funded. And media and documentation, which is probably one of the largest categories, 73% were funded. And in the cultural equity arts grant, 78% were funded. So just to give you an idea what the percentage is as far as funding goes. So I don't want to take up too much of anyone's time, but I appreciate you for hanging out with me today. We're going to do this again on Friday. If you think of any other questions, you can always email me, grants@jacksonheritage.org, or call me 504-558-6103. And I'm looking forward to seeing your projects. Appreciate you all and all the good work y'all are doing. Bye guys, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.